What's up, everyone? We are back for another edition of Faith and Sports, and today I am joined by truly one of my favorite people. Former UNC and NFL guard, played for the Oilers, the Dolphins, and the Carolina Panthers, and has stayed very involved in Carolina in various broadcasting roles, spent some coaching time for UNC Charlotte, and now has returned to his alma mater as the director of high school relations for UNC, the man, the myth, the legend, Kevin Donnalley. Hey, Kev, how you doing?
Hey, Taylor, how are you? I'm so glad to be with you. It's been too long.
It has. We're catching up before we started recording because Kev and I do some different broadcast work for the Panthers, so we usually get to catch up more. This quarantine has kept us apart. So has your move to Chapel Hill, but it's always great to catch up with you. So we are going to dive right on in. One thing that you quickly come to know about Kevin is his passion. I learned that very quickly when I met you. You are passionate about whatever you do, whether it was playing the game, podcasting, even just competition. You just have that fire in you. And typically that drive is rooted in something deeper. So I would love to just get your take on the connection between your faith and sports. How did faith play a role for you on the field?
For me, sports was a great outlet growing up. And my father passed when I was very young, 5 years old. And I have snapshots in my mind of him and a few memories here and there. But one of the biggest is being in church for the funeral and kind of wondering what's even going on right now. And I couldn't really understand the impact of having that void in my life and not having a father figure. And I would say that sports really gave me an outlet for a really long time that I could control what was around me and compete and take my mind off of things. And we grew up in a Catholic house, and we went to mass every week. And, I would say it's a Christian household, but, as you get older, it felt like there wasn't a real connection there. And even got through college with feeling I could do a lot of things on my own. And I was in control of my life, and the plan was up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. I'll do whatever I got to do and get there. But then quickly realized that getting to the pros, and suddenly the talent is so good, and it's such a complicated game, and the pressure's high, and so much more is at stake that it wrecked me in a lot of ways that rookie year. I mean, it broke me down. Just came to realize how out of control I was of everything, and just submitting at that point. And I had some great teammates that pulled me along in my journey and got me to go to just beginning with Chapel, kind of getting me back into the, it's like a squirrel, you don't want to go too fast at somebody and scare them off. And then, but then with some Bible studies and getting deeper involved in some different things, and just changed the course of my life forever. And I'm glad those guys did that, because they were the same ones breaking me down. Because I got into the league in 1991 in the NFL, and hazing and messing with rookies and all that type of stuff it's huge. So it was just really tough my rookie year. And so some of the guys that were making the hardest on me, my fellow offensive linemen, also put their arm around me the most and protected me and guided me through that. And I think having people around you that truly care for you and have a strong faith that you can look to be supportive. Some of those guys, I've kept in touch with because they were just such a huge impact on my life. Not only taught me to be a really good football player. I mean, a couple of those guys are in the Hall of Fame as players, but to me, Hall of Fame guys because of how they were with their family, their kids, their wives, how they treated them, and then how they lived such a godly life. And for me, looking at that and saying, the fame and success, that's all kind of great stuff, but it's like the joy that you see and the peace that they have is what you started to look and see, like that's the real stuff.
Right. I love that. You mentioned that, you were going through part of your career thinking that you could do it on your own. And I think so many athletes do wrestle with that idea, because there is a level of initiative and self-discipline that you have to have as a successful athlete. You can't expect, whether it's God or your coach or your teammates to go through the motions for you. You do have to take ownership of your sport. But you have to know that you're in that role because of the talent that the Lord blessed you with, because of the path that he paved for you. So that balance is an interesting one to come to. So when you did find yourself kind of back into that solid footing of both faith and sports, how did your perspective change in relation to the game?
You know, it really was about control, because I was such a competitor and wanted to win so badly that you're studying the film and you're going over your notes and you're doing everything you can to prepare, and then you don't have success because of a certain play. Something happens during the game, could be anything, and I would take that very hard. And I just had to realize that after a while that there's 22 guys on the field, and so many different things can happen at any given time that I can prepare and I can have the drive and I can do everything I want to do. But at the end of the day, it's totally out of my control. And, I know the little things are in my control with the footwork I would use, the technique I'm using, who I'm going to block, how I approach plays. I mean, those things, but some of the other things were just so much out of my control that having a strong faith, I think, gave me that peace that, when I broke the huddle to go line up at the line of scrimmage, it was almost, I could say to myself, I'm prepared. I'm ready to do this. Lord, I just give it to you. Help me to do my best on this play. And if it's not, to be, then I come back and I do it again the next play. I'll tell you this, Taylor, this is an interesting thing. We have, I might have said this to you before, but the offensive line is, to me, the toughest position, because not the physical challenge of it. It's very difficult. You're blocking guys that are incredible athletes, like Derek Brown out of Auburn, that's going to be joining the Carolina Panthers, who you love. I know. Those guys want to just beat you down and get to the quarterback. But see, we not only have the physical challenges of it, the mental challenge. There's this extra stress that I think every offensive lineman feels, that you're a protector. It's kind of like the Blind Side movie. With that left tackle, you want to protect your quarterback, and you're the protector, and you want to take care of that guy. You have people's health in your hands. The running back, the quarterback, their health is in your hands, and the last thing you want to see is something that's career ending, or something, an injury happened that was on your watch. And for me, that was a huge amount of pressure that I carried with me, also with all this other stuff going on. And I had to have a belief that there was a bigger picture, a bigger plan, that football, it's not everything in the world, and that it's not all encompassing. And you do the very best that you can, but you start worrying about all these different things and what can go wrong out there. It'll get you, focused on the wrong things. And I think it's a lot with our faith. The devil's out there all the time, shooting things at us that want to make us worry and think about things that aren't really that important, to take our eyes off the bigger prize.
Oh, absolutely. And once you kind of are able to decipher where those attempts are, you're better for it. But that's certainly a process. And I can imagine it's even a process on the field and how you relate that to your play. But another aspect of sport that comes with the pressure, especially in today's society, we put athletes on a pedestal. Sports are the be all end all. And it comes with such a spotlight that you're consistently under, not just when you're on the field. How did you handle that spotlight, and how can faith help alleviate that pressure for today's athletes?
Well, first of all, I was an offensive lineman, so there wasn't a lot of people tugging at me.
There's more tugging at you now, Kev.
Yeah, no, you're right. We weren't the star pass catchers out there, or the all-star quarterback or running back, but I think faith is so important, because of, I think, the negative aspect of all those voices that can say so many negative things. If all your value is just really on the game and not in your faith and the Lord above, if that's your focus, then you're going to be disappointed every time, because it's not what's important. Sometimes we see, it didn't matter if it was then when I was playing or now, if you look at what people are doing and scrolling through, and it looks like everyone's got it together, right? And none of us do. I've got issues every day that, if someone wanted to hear all my problems, which they don't, we could talk about them. But I'm just being real, because that's just the way it is. It's you got to have a support group around you, and it's all going to be based around God and your faith.
Absolutely. I think that so often we can get caught up in the bit of a facade that everyone puts forward with the emergence of social media and things like that. Of course, we're always going to show our highlights, but that's not all that there is. There's a lot more beneath the surface, and athletes absolutely fall under that category. Well, Kev, we could talk for hours, let's be honest, but I will let you go now. Thank you so much for chatting with me and sharing some of the good word with us today.
Well, my pleasure. I'll say one thing more, as we get off this, I think with Zoom and all the different things that we're able to do now and post things out there, all the positive, cool things like you're doing with this that have come from this that might not have been something that was done, but only going through this situation we have for the last 60, 65 days, it made it possible to have some of these cool things that hopefully, you'll be able to keep doing, keep sharing on, because it's been fun to see you do these every week, and I was glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you, Kev. It was a long time coming. I was excited to hear what you had to say, and I certainly do appreciate that. That's the silver lining in all of this, that maybe we'll get some more positivity out there, because I think the world needs it. But Kev, thank you. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and still prayers up for a football season. Am I right?
Absolutely. Get that Tar Heel win in Atlanta against Auburn.
See, this is where you end it badly, Kev. I'm out.